are being recorded. They are being recorded right on cue, and we will be posting them on the CSLP Summer Symposium webpage. We will send a link out to all the recordings. Also, we will be posting slides and notes and links and all that stuff. So don't worry about that. Anything you miss, you will have access to after the fact. You will be able to get a continuing education credit certificate at the end. It'll be available for download from the CSLP Summer Symposium webpage. You'll be able to add your own name and total number of CE hours based on the number of sessions you watched. So if you watched one, that's worth 1 CE hour. And if you watch all 4, you'll get 4. There is a link to the Summer Symposium webpage in the chat. And that has our schedule for the day. We are in webinar mode, so microphones are muted and cameras are off unless you are a panelist. So you don't have to worry about doing that yourself. As you may have noticed, we are a very large audience today. We will be using the Q&A box when you have questions for the presenters. We ask that you use the chat to talk to each other and share ideas. But if you have a question for the presenters or for any of the moderators, like you're having a technical issue, please put it in the Q&A. Otherwise, we cannot promise we will see it because the chat tends to move rather quickly. In the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you should see a menu with participants and chat and 3 dots. If you click on the dots and select Q&A, you can do that. And if you're ready to ask a question, you select all co-hosts and type it. So you can stay on all day if you want, or you can sign off in between. We will be here the whole time, and there are breaks between each session, so you can use the restroom or get a snack or whatever you need. So also there's captioning. If you click CC at the bottom, you should be able to access that. I think that is all of the super fun housekeeping details. And I am now going to introduce our panelists for this next session. So right now, we are going to welcome Alyssa Graybeal and our Emmanuel Committee chairs as they present the 2024 Manual Highlights for Adventure Begins at Your Library. They're going to highlight some new ideas and programs in the 2024 manual, and we are really lucky today to have Alyssa Graybeal, who is CSLP's Managing Editor. We have Deborah Kinirons, who is from the Uniondale Public Library and the Spanish Manual Chair. Angela Germany from West Baton Rouge Parish Library, who's the Early Literacy Manual Chair. Christina Stepp from the Charlotte Community Library, the Children's Manual Chair. Caitlin Hill from the Orlando Public Library is the Teen Manual Chair, and then Greta Funk from Nortonville Public Library is the Adult Manual Chair. So we have so many amazing manual chairs, and we're really excited to have them here to talk about all the work they've been doing. And I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa now.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everybody. Let me just share my screen. Okay, everybody see that? Nods? Yes. Okay, so I am super excited to be here to talk about the 2024 manual. It's a fun one, I think. I'll reintroduce all of the chairs as we go along because we're all going to have about a 5-minute session to talk about our favorite bits from our respective age groups or specialty. But yeah, I am Alyssa Graybeal. I'm the manual chair. I'm the one who manages the manual process every year and sort of compiles and edits the final manual. So I'm really happy to be here. I started at CSLP in 2018. Okay, so let's jump right in. Before I go into the manual itself, I just wanted to give a quick little overview of the organization of the online manual. It shifts a little every year. Hopefully this year it has become a bit easier to navigate. What we've done is we've put all the manual materials under the manual tab and all of the theme related materials. So like JPEGs, banners, posters, PowerPoint slides, templates, and whatnot, all under the theme tab there. So it shouldn't be all meshed up. It should be easier to find what you're looking for. And then under the manual tab itself, which is all I'm going to kind of delve into right now, is we've organized it so it's in PDFs, which we realize is not ideal for usability, but we're working on the database. But for now, you can download, the full manual. You can just get, all the materials for teen or children. You can get by age group. You can get just everything with Spanish on it. And then if you drill down also under by material type, you can get PDFs for, say, if you just want the book lists, or if you're one of the libraries who doesn't use really the programs in the manual, but you want the standalone printables, you can download just that chapter here in that tab. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that because it changed from last year, and hopefully this makes it a little easier to navigate. And on to 2024, Adventure Begins at Your Library. This was a really fun theme. It was also a little more difficult than you would think to make a cohesive chapters, because adventure can be interpreted in so many ways. But I think we ended with a really good lineup here. So we've got travel adventures, adventures in nature, adventures in imagination. We've got a puzzles and scavenger hunts chapter, adventures close to homes, like neighbors and backyard sort of stuff, and adventures in the dark. So that's the overview. And I'm just going to share a couple of my favorite things before I turn it over to the chairs. The Birdwatch Quest is it's good for children. I think it can be aged up as well. What I think is really exciting about this program is you can do it. Well, I'll come back to that. So I created these little booklets to go along with this program, which are basically just print and cut. And once you fold them, the QR codes that they'll be opposite the correct bird once you cut and fold, not right now. But the QR codes link directly to the sound of the bird. So these little booklets, they can be used in the library. You can hang pictures of a bird on the wall and have a little bird watching within the library. People just match it up, kids just match it up, use the QR code, hear the sounds, da, 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 da. Or I think you could also take it outside. I chose the birds that are common to all of North America. So if you're within North America, you should probably, you will have the birds around, probably. So I think that's a fun program. Yeah, so it goes to the Cornell lab, which has the best sort of sounds and descriptions of the birds. So I like that one because it's kind of local and it can be run in a lot of different ways, and it's easy. It's just kind of print and go. And I'll just also highlight the standalone printables chapter. This was new last year, so this is the second year with a dedicated chapter. And I think it's really a lot of great resources in there. We've got, bookmarks and reading logs for every age group. We've got bingos for every age group and different themes. So there's like a bazillion bingos for whatever your bingo needs might be. There's lots of bingos. Those will be highlighted. I think there's a couple highlighted in this presentation. This is one of them, Summer Adventure Bingo, that it's kind of passive. You can just have it in a stack and pass it out. People can go have their adventures in the library or outside of it. And what else? So there's lots of, I'm not going to go through all the standalone printables because there's a bazillion, but I highly recommend that you don't miss that chapter. There's also a little cute little sleepover checklist for, like the in the dark chapter, if you're doing like story time at night or whatever. This is fun. It's also a good passive thing if kids are just doing sleepovers throughout the summer to tie with a nap time or bedtime story time. And so those are the little things I wanted to highlight. I'm going to turn it over to our first manual chair, which is Angela Germany from Louisiana. So this is Angela's first year as manual chair, which means that the material in the 2024 manual, that was not of her committee. That was Beth Ratliff, who is no longer the manual chair. She had to step down. So Angela Germany was very generous to go through the 2024 manual that she did not work on and pick some of the favorite highlights for early literacy. So I'm going to turn it over to her. Welcome, Angela.
Hello, everybody. You can hear me? I'm assuming. So we're going to go. All right. So thank y'all for letting me step into this position. I've had a lot of fun so far working on next year's manual. It's going to be awesome, y'all. But so I went through this manual, and because early lit, birth to about age 5, I just went through each chapter and read the early literacy components. And I really like the way it is organized. And as I was going through, I just sort of picked a chapter at random to just briefly talk about. And so I landed on imagination. I landed on chapter 4, Dream It Up, Adventures in Imagination. And I'm a book person. I also do collection development because I'm at a small rural library. So shout out to small rural libraries everywhere. And so I'm always up for books about imagination and boxes. And so I wanted to feature this Let's Go Ted because it was so cute. And I brought it. So Let's Go Ted, big flap books, and they're sturdy flaps. Let's Go Ted, why are you sitting in a box? I am not, says Ted. Can't you see? I am whizzing along in my speedy race car, vroom, vroom. This whole book is a little boy sitting in a box, having adventures, going on adventures in his head. And I love it. And I hope you can get that one. There is another one that was amazing, and this is called Grace and a Box. You need to contact a local appliance store seller and snatch you some boxes for this summer for your little ones. I don't know if y'all can see this. The day the new refrigerator came, Grace got a box. I don't know if y'all can see the box. It's way bigger than she is. On Monday, the box was a rocket. On Tuesday, the box was a home. Every day, she has adventures with box. And it's beautiful and relatable and not a lot of words. So I would even say toddlers could handle this easily. All right, I would be remiss if I don't mention Con Polo with Jimmy Fallon and Jennifer Lopez. So if you haven't read that one, check that one out too. Next. Okay, a couple more books. So as you see, all the books are arranged. Babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. And so I also wanted to mention the Wiggle Waggle Feet because I'm always on a lookout for any engaging movement toddler book because they're already squirmy and wiggly and moving around already. So let's like partner with that energy. This is Who Has Wiggle Waggle Toes? And it's all about one of my favorite baby things. I don't know if y'all can see, but it's baby toes. So yes. And then of course, Jacqueline Woodson, another one about imagination. The Year We Learned to Fly. So that's my brief book talks on those books. But always check out these book lists. They are fantastic. See if there's something you don't have, or if you have an older book. So the only book I had on box play in my library was an oldie but goodie called Roxaboxen, and you probably know it if you've been in libraries a while. So I really needed some new suggestions, so I purchased those. All right, let me see. Stay and play. So each early literacy component of each chapter wraps up with a stay and play activity. And so if you, like me, are doing weekly baby and toddler story time, yes, I saw in the comments someone mentioned Pete the Cat. I did have Pete the Cat and his groovy imagination, and that's another good book with box and box play with kids. But I did like, that one's a little wordy. The one with Pete the Cat and his groovy imagination is longer. So the one with Grace and Box is a little more concise for your wiggly toddlers. All right, where am I? I am talking about, we were on this page right here. It's okay, I have it on my manual. Baby feet. Okay, stay and play activities. Quick. At the end of every baby toddler story time, the moms want to talk, especially your stay-at-home moms. They don't get a lot of adult human interaction, right? So we want to have cool things for the kids to do, a little something. So I normally bring out different toys and some of the activities that we can do to engage the caregiver moms are in the end of each chapter in the stay and play section. And Alyssa has it really nicely divided by babies or toddlers or preschoolers, so you know what age you're going for. But the first activity in this chapter is one of my favorites. It's baby feet. Get caregiver mom, take off baby's feet, and let's play with different sensory things. And in this case, it's go to your house and grab some different textures. Get a beach towel, get a tea towel, some fake fur, a silk scarf, and touch these cool things on baby's toes. If you're comfortable with touching them on baby's hands, lovely. If you have crawlers, put them on the ground, let them crawl. So I know we've done some of these things before. This isn't all brand new concepts, but I like finding different ways to incorporate oldie but goodie activities. All right, and then the next one was baby faces. The screen's kind of small, but the next one is baby faces. Any kind of baby face play where baby looks at your face and interacts. You make a face, see if baby can make the face back, wait a few moments. That's super fun. When you get to the toddlers and the preschoolers, we like to do expanded baby crazy faces. So you can start off with, happy face, sad face, boo-boo lip face, and then we can go zombie face, dinosaur face, roar. And so that was another recommended activity. Let's see. Oh, the next one was move like an animal. Grab any animal book, preschool baby toddler book that has an animal, and you, caregiver, replicate the movement. The oldie but goodie that I always used to use was From Head to Toe by Eric Carle. I know y'all know that one, but there was one that was recommended in the manual here in the tiny print you probably can't read, and it's called We All Play. And that was one of the best books of 2021. And what's so cool about it is it has Cree words, Cree Indian words thrown in for fun. And it shows things like birds who chase and chirp. So they're already up and moving. Let's chase and let's chirp. And then it gives you the Cree word underneath it. It's just a beautiful book. Another really great new fresh animal book where you can replicate the movement was a recommendation from Jay Brary. It's called Animals Move by Jane Whittingham. And I have that one and it's super fun. We've read that one twice and the kids, we love it. We have lots of fun play. Another recommended one in this chapter was Bring Out Bubbles. Y'all, I haven't done that in a while. I'm so glad I got reminded in this book. But yes, bring out the bubbles. Do some bubble play with your kids after a story time or incorporated with story time. Gauge your space. In my case, we have brand new carpet. So I have to, the precious, the new carpet. So I'm just going to grab some beach towels, throw them on the ground in our space, and we will do bubbles this summer. So that was bubble plays. And then the last recommendation, of course, was box play. Get you some box. Yes, chalk is great. So this chapter is just, what I love about the summary manual is yes, I know a lot of these ideas, but I don't have time to think of everything. So this is all here for me. Oh yeah, bubbles would be lovely. Let's do that. There's also chapter 2 had some amazing things as well. That was a little more things I have to gather, like yarn and such. But please check out all the early literacy components in the manual, and don't forget about the standalone printables. Those are very nice. And then the next 2 things, I was going to share 2 of my favorite toys that I do for after play. Go back to the Melissa and Doug. If you don't have this, please get this. It's $20. These are great. Melissa and Doug stuff tends to be sturdy, not all of it, but most of it. I bought 2 of these sets about 3.5 years ago, and they're virtually indestructible. They all still work, completely washable. They're a pull back and go toy, and you can Velcro. You can take off the top component. That's the fun, cute car squishy, and throw that on the washing machine or hand touch up whatever, if anyone slobbers all over it. And then you just reattach it to the wheels that go on the bottom. These have been played with hard and they are still standing. And the last one if you don't have a crawl tunnel that you can bring out for fun times, go ahead and get one. I have some cool fun things behind my desk, and they'll, Miss Angela, can we get the hula hoops today? Can we do the cars today, or the blocks? Or so have some cool things that you can clean easily. But this was what my recommendations. And anyway, thank you for letting me present. And that's my part. And I look forward to hearing about the rest of the manual. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angela. That was fantastic. My cats love the play tunnel too. Not that one.
Yes.
Small one. Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to the children's manual now, and I'm going to welcome Christina Stuck. This is her second year as children's manual chair, and she's done a fantastic job, and I will turn it over to Christina in Michigan.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. So this has been a joy being able to compile all these ideas, so I'm really excited to share them with you. So the first one we have really brought it back to my childhood. I'm sure most of you guys have read some of the Choose Your Own Adventure stories. And so one of my committee members created the idea for a display. This could be a passive program, but the people in your library get to choose what happens next. So they have the recommendation you can take a common story that you know, modify one, or even build one with some teens in your library. You can make one yourself, and just get it started, and then have two options. You could do this, or you could do this, and then have a vote and then decide. The idea in the manual is that you can make like a display, like a bulletin board, kind of like a March Madness kind of bracket, was how I envisioned it. But you could also, as you see on the side of the manual, they have these adaptations. So one of them is to actually make a video that you could do, or a live action. You could do this during story time. Allow the kids the option of, you know, Piggy and Elephant are playing, and then Piggy fell down. What should they do now? And then give them two options, and then they could decide. So that's a fun one. That one's in chapter 4, Dream It Up, Adventures in Imagination. So that one's fun. So in the next one is even funner. This one I'm super excited about. It's the Great Book Chase. And this, like most of our manual ideas, are just things to kind of help springboard you. So you don't necessarily have to do everything that's mentioned, but you can take it and then modify it. So these are ideas for an Indiana Jones type program that you could do. And what the people who worked on this idea, they had different obstacle courses that the children can try to attempt. There's a crocodile infested waters. You make using paper and foam and crocodile images. The challenge that the children have to like escape and not touch the crocodiles. They have a creepy cave that you can do with boxes or large tubes, and have the challenge of them trying to go through it without touching certain things. And whenever I was looking at this, I was reminded of things called brain breaks, which is what I have on the left side of here. This is a screenshot from a YouTube video. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know about brain breaks. This is something I was actually recently introduced to by my children. They do these at school. But they're videos that you watch, and there's lots of challenges, and they'll throw images up on the screen. And if you see the image, you have to do a certain motion. And so this reminded me of the Great Book Chase idea, because you could print out images, and during story time or during a program, you know, you can stop and explain to them, okay, if you see this image, you're going to jump up, or if you see this image, you're going to squat down. And so there are a ton of YouTube videos that do these brain breaks that can, again, just help jog your memory and get everybody moving around. So this, the rest of the Great Book Chase ideas are in chapter 5, Solve Those Puzzles, Scavenger Hunts, and Mysteries. So the next one is from chapter 6, and this is Stay Close, Adventures Close to Home. This is to make a roller coaster. Now, you don't have to get extreme and build like huge ones, but you can make them little. And so the idea is to just use straws, cardboard, little tubes, and a ping pong ball or a marble, and see how you can make it maneuver. Like, can you make it go down and come back up? But again, you can get bigger on a bigger scale, depending on what kind of materials you have. But this is a great option for recyclables that you may have lying around. And there was a tip here on the side. This is a multi-generational one that you can do. But if your area has a county fair, maybe they have a roller coaster, and you could try to model it after that. And going off of this, you could also maybe try to do a Ferris wheel. So there's lots of options about things that are exciting like that. And then my final one is actually a Mod Podge from a lot of chapters. We're really huge here at my library on doing a lot of passive programming. That's one reason why I really liked the Choose Your Own Adventure bulletin board, because you're still having interaction with the patrons, but it's not taking away from your time, so to speak. And so these scavenger hunts that are sprinkled throughout all of the manual are really great for those passive programmings, but they can easily be modified for an actual in-person, all-together program. So the ones that I really liked, and I know Alyssa talked about the birding, which I love, the library scavenger hunt, find different things in the library. And when you find it, it could have a letter, and then it could spell out an answer to a riddle. We've done this with gnomes here at my library before. They really like it. The sensory scavenger hunt, I was really all over. That's in chapter 5, because I like the idea of taking walks together. Particularly, I grew up in Texas, and it's so hot during the day, but at dinner time during the summer, like 8 o'clock, it's cooler, so you can go on walks. And this would be an awesome idea to try to use your senses and to locate all these items. Of course, you could do it indoors, but I think that would be a really fun walking outdoors activity. And then, of course, outdoor, a road trip bingo. I mean, how cool is that when you're going on trips? You can see how many of these do you see? And that's really cool for our friends that are learning how to read or reinforcing reading skills. So thank you guys for listening to me, and I can't wait to hear more. I took notes from Angela's sharing, so I can't wait to hear what everybody else has to share. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Christina. Okay, moving on to teen. Before we jump in, I want to give a shout out to last year's teen manual chair, Erin Groth, if you're here. She was a teen manual chair for, I think, 3 years, possibly 4 years. So great job, Erin. We loved having you. And this year's manual chair, Caitlin Hill from Florida, actually last minute, just before we started, I found out she had a family emergency. So I'm going to run through her slides really quick. Just totally cold, and we'll see how we go. Okay, we wanted to highlight the tips in chapter 1 for teens getting started. I know working with teen programs can be a little bit intimidating sometimes. So what do they want besides food? I think it could be really helpful if they're learning from each other somehow, like a teen or slightly older than a teen, like someone in university or college, presenting something to the teens, that tends to be really engaging. Anyway, I recommend going through the Getting Started docs if you kind of don't know where to start. There's a list for teen incentives here too. And this is an overview I just put in, which is all the teen programs. Depending on how you use the manual, you may or may not see this list when you get into it. But if you were like, all the teen programs are, within every, scattered, I can't find all of them, there is a list at the beginning, all the teen programs, same for every other age group. So just this little navigation thing for you. I really liked the Grow Your Own Oyster Mushrooms program, and we got some really excellent instructions and a ton of excellent photographs from Rebecca Ballard from Georgia, who volunteered to do that for us, which is fantastic. But these are really fun. I can't actually read how long it takes, but it was definitely within 1 to 3 weeks. So it can definitely be done within the space of a summer reading program. And it's a great multi-generational or teens or kind of whatever age group you want to make it for. And then we also have, Caitlin wanted to highlight the glow in the dark along. So that is, you know, just what it sounds like. Paint along, but you're using glow in the dark paint. You can also modify it by doing things like having them paint with their eyes closed, which is a fun activity to kind of see what ends up on the canvas. And it's a really helpful activity if people feel like they can't draw. I mean, after a certain age, a lot of people get it in their heads that they can't draw. I personally think everyone can draw, but get them to close their eyes, and that often can turn off the art critic. But we'll talk more about art tips in next year's manual, or the year after, next year's 2025. Anyway, so those are the teen programs I wanted to highlight. It's I definitely recommend going back and flipping through the manual on this one, since this is probably not everything that Caitlin wanted to say about this. But feel free to ask questions in the Q&A period if you have them. And next, I'm going to move on to the adult manual, and I'm going to welcome Greta Funk from Kansas. This is Greta's second year as the adult manual chair, and she's doing fantastic. And Greta, are you here?
I am. Can you hear me? All right. So this is my second year. I just worked briefly on the teen manual the year before this. Adventure manual was taking place last year. Last year. So I kind of jumped into this, and as you probably guessed, the adults committee is a little bit smaller than the children's or early literacy. I think a lot of libraries maybe don't even do adult programming. I think it's really important, and it's one of my big things that I like to focus on all year long, but also in summer reading, is giving something for the adults to do and ways for the adults and teens that sometimes aren't, so excited about reading logs and all that, giving them something to do and ideas for ways to get everybody involved. So a lot of these in the manual this year are multi-generational, meaning babies to adults, lots of different age categories can be involved, and they're also really adaptable. So I love that about this is you can take some inspiration from what you find and fit it to your space and fit it to your patrons. So one of the first things that I'm going to highlight is a passive program. There are several passive programs in this manual. I think with the adventure theme, it really goes well with passive programming and patrons kind of sharing their stories from different adventures they go on or have been on or would like to go on. So passive programming that people can do, patrons can do whenever, they can come in and take part in whenever they're there, is really awesome. And it's also something that the adults or the parents can do when story time is happening, and you can get everybody involved even if you don't have an official adult program or teen program, that kind of thing. So this is one, Where Have You Been? The wall map is kind of a cool way to decorate your library and get the community involved, that will be added to all summer, so people can come in and look at what people have added. So you can make a map any size that fits in your library. We have one wall that goes all the way across over the computers, and so really big wall map there would be really cool to, you know, be able to fill in as the summer goes on, both with, like I said, adventures that patrons have been on already, but also things that they're doing during the summer. So if somebody goes and takes a camping trip, they can add it to the map. Or if they go visit grandparents several states away, the whole family can add to the map. So there's a lot of adaptations, like I said, really a lot of ways to make it fit your own library. My library is very small. And a big one, you might even have more than one map. You can do one for kids, one for past trips. You could have things that are going on during the summer. So there are lots of good tips in the manual and adaptations and books that go along with all of these programs. So the next one is really cool. It's a virtual national park excursion. So I know a lot of libraries have pretty small budgets. Generally, we can do at my library like one big visitor. So a group from the zoo or something like that. But this is kind of a less expensive way to get the whole family involved and be able to experience something that they might not be able to do at all, or, you know, not this year or whatever. So it's basically an online tour of a national park. The information is there in the manual. It's only $25 to do it for a whole group. And you can have it in the library where you set up a projector and kind of have all of your patrons together, taking this tour of national parks. Or you can have everybody, it could be at home. You know, people can have the link and you all take the tour together, but separately, if that makes sense. So there's books, again, and web pages, tips and adaptations. So however you want to do this, and this is another multi-generational program that is more active and really great for everybody, kids and adults, everybody. So this is a good one that is for can be for crafty people like me. I love crafts and projects with lots of supplies, but it doesn't have to be. And it can also be totally passive if you want to set it up for people to do when they come into the library, or you can have a specific time when a group comes in and does this, or you can also do a take and make. So you can give your patrons kits and they can take it home and make it. So it's the bucket list journal. And in my library, like I said, I love crafty stuff. So my library will be doing kind of a junk journal situation. So we could have all kinds of supplies, and they can make, teens and adults could do this. It could just be adults, could just be teens, could be both together. But they can get really creative with paper crafting and all kinds of different media, just like a junk journal, or it could be just more of a scrapbook, making the cover, making a really pretty cover or cool cover. And then having the pages inside that they could fill in with their bucket list. Another adaptation for this could be a vision board. So the bucket list journal, I see kind of as a journal for a vision board, like what you want to do, where you want to go before you die, where you would love to visit, or what kind of adventures you would love to go on someday. So just any way for people to be able to write it down and cut out pictures, magazines. There are so many different ways you could do this one. So that's why I love it so much. And a community adventure. So this one is another passive program for multi-generational. You could do teens or tweens, and it's also outreach, which is sometimes difficult for, you know, somebody that's busy during summer reading. This is a way for people to get really involved in going out to their community. There's two different ideas for how to do this one. So if you're in a bigger place, my small town, this version wouldn't work too well. But the first one is kind of a guess the community spots game. So you would have different pictures from your community and posting them or putting them up on the wall or whatever, and people can guess where it's at. So you could do a photo that's like super zoomed in, you know, like the pictures where you have a cat whisker and you have to guess what it is based on super duper macro shot, whatever, you know what I mean. So they have to guess with just a little bit of information where in your community it is. And then the other option, which is something that we could do as a smaller, very small town and library, is to have kind of a scavenger hunt. So have different spots in your community, and maybe your businesses or parks. You can put something there for people to go find, and they can take a picture or they can write it down, to take a selfie with the bank teller or something like that. So they can go, and you can do prizes. You can do all kinds of different things with this, just like, you know, any of the other ones. That's what's so great about the manual. And then the last one, I think is the last one, geocaching. Geocaching has been around forever. And what I love about this is it has ways and ideas for you can participate and teach patrons about geocaching, but you can also make your own. So this multi-generational, again, and teen, so you can get the whole family involved. For the adults and the teens, that would be a cool way to get together and have an event where you can make the geocaches and make a little container for people to go find later. So there's lots of information, adaptations, tips on how to do that. So it's another good way to get your patrons out to have an adventure in your community and get the whole family involved.
Okay, thank you so much, Greta.
Thank you.
And sorry, everyone, I was clicking around and I messed up the presentation view. Hopefully that wasn't too distracting while Greta was talking. Okay, last but not least, we have Deborah Kinirons from New York, who's going to talk about the Spanish manual. Welcome, Deborah.
Hi, everyone. I just want to thank all the members of the Spanish Manual Committee. And we are going to start with page 5. So page 5 has tips for facilitating Spanish or bilingual English-Spanish programming. not on the sheet, but if you are able to, it would be a good idea, if you've never done bilingual programming or Spanish language programming, story times, to go watch somebody else do it. So you can get an idea of how they do it, and, adapt it for you. And page 6 has best practices for outreach to Spanish-speaking communities. The first step is to learn about the community, and then there are steps for suggestions for outreach. Also, how to find out about the needs of your Spanish-speaking community and how to advertise your programs. The final reminder is that you need to constantly doing outreach. I started in my current position almost 7.5 years ago, and I started out as a Spanish-speaking librarian. So I've done a lot of these things myself. The first thing that I did was look at the demographics to understand the community better, and meet with people that serve the Spanish-speaking community. So now we'll move on to page 7. Page 7 and 8 are respectively handouts with information for caregivers to dispel myths about raising bilingual children. So it has the myth, and then it dispels that. And that's something obviously in Spanish, and then it's been translated. So now I'm going to explain, so those of you that are new, where to find the Spanish language materials in the manual. If you're familiar with the manual, it's been in different places. This is my 3rd year as chair, and we've also expanded the content in Spanish in the manual, which you notice now we have book lists for adults as well. So I'm going to use chapter 6. So Alyssa, could you go back one page? Right, so every chapter is, if you have looked through the manual, if you haven't, every chapter starts with like a table of contents. So you'll see this is where it's, it starts with early literacy, then it has, activities. So what's the next page? So storytime books. So it has the English ones, and then following, I'm using, this is page 160, I believe. So it'll have the books in English and then followed by books in Spanish, and it's listed whether or not they're bilingual, whether they're monolingual Spanish, or if there's also a version in English available. And there are also songs. So it starts with babies, as you can see, toddlers, and then the story time songs follow, and there's a URL for them. And so now I'll move on to, there's an activity on page 59 that I want to highlight. Let's explore the Spanish-speaking world. And this is accompanied also by printables in English and Spanish. And this is, my committee came up with this idea. There's different places in the Spanish-speaking world that are on pages 60 and 61. I also want to point out that many of the printables have been translated. So you can see Adventure Bingo. You may have seen this in other people's slides, that things have been translated. So English here, followed right by the Spanish. And I will end with the book lists. So this is at the end of the manual. So the lists are included. So for the early literacy, I believe Alyssa, feel free to jump in. They're included in the actual chapters. But then this is the book list. The book list starts on page 294 of the manual, but the young adult and adult book lists in Spanish are on pages 304 and 305. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a new addition to the manual. We've expanded the content in recent years. I think it used to just really be focused on early literacy, but now we also have content all the way book list for adults. And we're always open to suggestions. If there are things that you would like, feel free to pass that on to CSLP or your state rep, and we'll consider implementing them. And that's it.
Great, thank you so much, Deborah. And I will say that the Spanish Committee has done an incredible job of expanding to all age groups in the past few years under Deborah's reign. And if anybody out there wants to be on Deborah's Spanish language committee, immediately. They're always looking for more people. So you can email me or Deborah to get on that. And I think that's it for highlights. There's the beautiful cover. And we are at our Q&A period. So I'll hand it back to Sarah to moderate that for us. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Alyssa. I think maybe a good first question is, I bet a lot of people, we have like 1,300 people here now, might be interested in being involved in creating these manuals in future years. So I'd love if you could give a little overview of the best way to get involved, how you become a chair, what kind of is involved in working on a committee.
So if you want to get involved in the manual, the first thing and the easiest thing you can do is you can submit programming ideas or resources. There's a tab on the CSLP website. And if you just have like one great idea that you really want to share for this year, it's up for 2026 dinosaurs. So if you got a dinosaur idea, you can start sticking those in now. And we do work almost 2 years in advance. So right now we're working on summer of 2025. And that sort of wraps up in January. So there's a sign up for all of CSLP committees at the annual meeting. And you can sign up for which committee you might be interested in. And then the chairs will contact you September, October to get started. It's the fall of any given year is the heavy time for the manual committees. And typically the chair, the chair comes from someone who's been on the committee the previous year or has been on any committee the previous year. And we're constantly rotating. We've got five manual committees and chair for each one of them. So there's lots of opportunities if you'd like to get more involved with that. We also have a review committee, which is a more nebulous committee, really, because you're all working asynchronously. So it's when we have the draft content from all of the manual committees, then we send it to the review committee to just look it all over, tell us what's good, what's not, what needs additions, just more ideas. And we have the inclusion committee look at that for us as well to make sure we're hitting all of our inclusion benchmarks. So yeah, sign up at the annual meeting. You can still be on the review committee because it hasn't started yet. So if you want to review content for 2025, you can email me, alyssa.graybeal@CSLP, and I will put you on there.
Thanks so much. Hopefully you'll get some new faces out of this amazing audience. Another question that came up, which I'm going to expand a little bit, was from Julie. We are an extremely small community and need to have ideas that youngers up to early teens can do at the same time. And I wonder if you can just talk about tips for finding programs in the manuals that might cross over in age for those who have communities where they're mostly doing intergenerational programming.
Well, I would say to look primarily at the multi-generational list. There's a list of all programs that are multi-generational. We've got a lot that have adaptations for kids, for teens, for adults, for families. So there's actually quite a few. We've expanded those offerings in the last few years. Like there's at least two, I think, in every chapter. So I'd go back to that table of contents list. Off the top of my head, there's a knot tying program in there. Adventures in something, knot tying, boat adventures, but that has a lot of simple knots for younger kids, more complex knots for older people, and also for like teens or adults. There's instructions for making knot puzzles that then they can take home. So that program has kind of all levels of complexity, and there are lots more. It's just the one off the top of my head. What about Christina or anybody else who works with children, teen crossover programs?
I was going to say the Birdwatch Quest. I can see that going on. I can see even some of my middle schoolers participating in that one. That was really well done, where you have to scan the QR code, listen to the bird chirping, and then identify it. The kids love scavenger hunts at my library, even up to like 8th grade. And then their older teenager siblings will help them. So that's one that gets a broad age range.
I was just going to mention that in the tables of content, it tells you on the side of in the chapters if it's a children, tween, and then there's a lot that are like children, tweens, teens, multi-generational. So that's just a good like quick pick out to do that. But I think the roller coaster one would be super fun for that tween age.
And while this may not be manual theme specific, it is always fun to incorporate some kind of Father's Day thing. We always try to do some Father's Day thing in June, and we can make it on manual theme or not, but that could be something you could incorporate with multi-generational. And take one of these ideas, even if it's like the glow in the dark painting from page 205, and make that some kind of a Father's Day adventure theme, for example.
Thanks all. Feel free to, we still have about 5 minutes, so if anyone has questions for all of these manual chairs who are very rarely all in the same room together, that was a really awesome opportunity. I will ask a question. The manual is so dense and full of information. I'm wondering if any of you have tips for like the best way to navigate it or to pull out the most relevant sections for you. Just because there's so much good stuff in there.
Well, I'll answer that question. So back to what I was saying at the beginning with the tabs on the online manual, I feel like that's the easiest way to pull out specific types of content, you know, book lists, printables, whatever, or a packet of just everything for teens, something like that. At the beginning of the manual, the print manual, which is also in the online PDF of the full manual, there's a table of contents, you know, by chapter, and there's the table of contents by age. So you can kind of look in that way. I also write an index every year. So if you're looking for specific like type of material, or, you know, you want all the scavenger hunts, just go to the index, it's in there. So yeah, we have a lot of different access points for getting to what you want.
Can I just say I am not very organized, but I have a lot of good ideas and I find a lot of good ideas. So what I like to do with the manual is if I find something that I really want to do or really want to save for later, is I'll save a PDF of that page and I'll put it in a specific folder in my Google Drive, labeled for that summer. And then I have a working spreadsheet because we're all thinking about summer reading all year long. So when I find something, I'll put just a little piece of the idea in my spreadsheet of who it's for, like adults, kids, whatever, and which week it's for, and then I'll save the page or PDF of that activity in the Google Drive so that I can come back to it. And I always forget what I have, you know, thought about. So that's just an easy way. And then when I'm making the schedule, I can just work right off of that spreadsheet. So that's how I do it.
Awesome.
That's a
Good
great
idea,
tip.
Greta. I also want to say that we are talking about moving to an online manual model that's a database. So that will be easier to search, easier to like bookmark things and whatnot. So that is coming down the pipe at some point. It's going to, you know, we work 2 years in advance, so it's not going to be immediate, but we are working on that back here in the back end. And I'd say look out for a usability study probably coming next year. We're going to kind of do a survey of libraries and how they use the manual, how it works, how it doesn't work. So look out for that. We are looking to improve our organization over here. So we'll need your feedback on that.
Thanks all. We have about 1 minute left. This is probably a really quick question. Is there a way to print out the individual different levels of rating suggestions without printing all of them at the same time? Like print just picture books? Sorry.
No, right now they're all in one. I mean, you can print just those pages, print a page range. Deborah?
Could you just copy and paste them? I mean, I would maybe use a PDF of the manual and just literally just highlight it and copy and paste it into your own format. That would be what I would do. I would just put it in another document and adapt it, to how you want to use it.
Yeah, currently in the manual, they're all bunched up like that without page breaks because we have, we're printing it on paper, so we have like a limit. We don't want blank pages everywhere. That should be something that'll be easier to just print all the early literacy books or whatever in future. But at the moment, you got to get them all or copy paste or get them by chapter because all the books at the end are somewhere in the manual, either in the early literacy stuff or associated with the program.
And I would just add to that, you could probably either it's your own library branding. I don't know how you do book lists, but you could use your own library branding and also use, if you're making a book list at your library, use the graphics, the summer reading graphics that go with that.
I think that's a good reminder that everything in all of these manuals is designed to help you and remix and do with what you will. So we encourage you to do that. Alyssa, go ahead.
I just have one more thing I thought of in terms of finding stuff in the manual. If you have the print manual, all the little tabs at the top are different colors and in different positions on the top of the page. So we've got the early literacy tab, the children's tab, the teen tab, the adult tab. So that should be a visual way you can sort of flip through. If the index and the table of contents don't work, there's a visual access points too. Hopefully that will help some people out there.
Thank you all so much. If anyone has further questions, I'm sure that the committee chairs are open to chatting, and we have a 15-minute break now, so you're welcome to stay on and then just come back or log out and log back in with the same link. And at 2 o'clock Eastern, we're excited. We're going to welcome Angela Hirsch to talk about practical tips for gathering stories to promote your library. And thank you so much for all of your work, for both being here and for doing all the work to make these manuals happen. We could not have summer programming manuals without you all, so thank you.